talk about the piano today. First I'm going to look at the family, different parts of other keyboard instruments and dynamic range and pitch range. Then I'm going to talk about the strengths and weaknesses of the piano, some special things that need to be done when writing for piano, and last, what kind of performance areas is used on piano and what kind of articulations are used. So the family of the piano basically is made up of the harpsichord, the clavichord, and the organ. The harpsichord and the clavichord were both predecessors of the piano, and they're much smaller. They have much less of a dynamic range. They have less keys on the keyboard, and the piano is definitely the more modern instrument. It has a better dynamic range. It has much more keys, and overall you can do a lot more with it than the harpsichord and clavichord. Like I said, the range of the piano is pretty much extensive to everything you would need to write music, so there's no need to worry about high range or low range, and hitting high notes is not harder than hitting low notes, unlike it would be on a brass instrument where high range or low range is exceptionally difficult. This is one of the strengths of the piano. It also has the ability to play more than one tone, so you can have multiple melodies or harmonies of melodies working together to make a beautiful sound. You don't have to have multiple people working to make those sounds together. You can also have multiple rhythms working in one piece or played by one person. And it's really cool because you can take orchestral scores, transpose them for a piano, and then you can play the whole orchestral piece on the piano. Some of the weaknesses of the piano when trying to write for it are that the sound decays. Unlike woodwinds or brass instruments, they can maintain the sound throughout a long period of time. But once you hit a key here, the sound starts to decay, and so if you have a whole note for several measures tied, for several measures, then by the end of 3 measures, it's not going to have pretty much any sound left at all. So you can't write a crescendo like holding out one note for a really long time like you would be able to for brass or woodwind instruments. The articulation for the piano has some different aspects that aren't necessarily on other instruments, is that the use of the pedal can create more of a mixing of sounds all at one time. That really has a cool effect, but it's also dangerous because if you have too much pedal, then suddenly you have all your tones running together, and it's hard to tell what you want to be heard, what you don't want to be heard. It's also sometimes difficult to bring out the melody, so when you're writing for it, you want to be able to make it clear where you want the melody to be brought out, and because you're playing more than one pitch at a time, sometimes you can bring out the wrong notes pretty easily, so you want to make it clear for the pianist what note you want them to bring out as far as the melody is. For playing, you want to maintain no more than an octave range for one hand, because if somebody tries to have you play 2 notes that are 15 notes apart in one hand, it's simply not going to work, and then you have to roll it. It's really difficult. And you also want to kind of maintain one rhythm pattern in one hand and then a different one maybe in the other hand, but trying to maintain some kind of consistency within the hand. And also to try to think about how would your fingers play it. So you don't want to write a bunch of notes that are going to be really difficult to make sound like a beautiful melody. If you write a bunch of notes that are like this with using all your fingers, it's going to be difficult to make that sound really nice. The performance of the piano is done in solo piano. It's used a lot for accompaniment and orchestral solos and orchestral music as well. When writing for piano accompaniment, like if you're writing for piano and trombone, you have to kind of think about how these are going to balance. You might want to put more notes on the piano if the trombone's playing really loud, because a brass instrument can play much louder than the piano can. While we do have the ability to create a large sound on the piano, it cannot compete with a brass instrument who's just giving everything it can. So you might want to think about writing so that the quantity of notes and harmonies might be able to compete with that louder brass melody. This is one of the differences that piano has from other instruments. One of the really cool things we can do on piano that is different than any other instrument is we have the middle pedal here, and if you hit the middle pedal, it will sustain only that tone, and then you can play other tones around it, and this is a really unique feature of the piano. I don't think this is anything that any other instrument can do. Alright, thank you for listening.